Hey guys, it's Chantal here. I hope you're all having a great day. I wanted to do a little video to talk about scaling. It's something that we hear at the gym every day here. We talk about different options, different scaling for members, and I want to talk about different ways of scaling because we tend to call them all the same here, and I'd like to get away from that. So the definition of scaling is to represent in proportional dimensions or to reduce or increase in size according to a common scale. So the CrossFit common scale here is usually RX. We always compare it to RX, right? And an RX is we program a workout to a specific weight, specific reps, specific moves to get a specific outcome. It's based on a athlete that we know we can handle that to keep the intensity that we want for that workout. It's usually we want you to go fast or we want you to go heavy, and when we go heavy we go less fast or slower. So there's three different things that we can that I want to talk about, I guess, and they're not all scales. It's not always to keep the same intensity as prescribed. So there's modification, there's progression, and there's substitution. I want to make the difference between the three because I think they're important to understand, so you know what we're doing. So, like I said earlier, we tend to mix all of those up and call them all a scale. So let's start with the modification. So a modification is changing parts of something while not changing other parts. So we're trying to keep the same intent or the same intensity of the intended workout. So for example, let's take a workout we did just last week where we had to do an 800-meter run, and then it was a combination of front squats and pull-ups for a total of 100 reps. So max out front squats, and then you did the remainder of reps in pull-ups, and then you finish off with an 800-meter run. So let's say we have Joe here. He's been CrossFitting for a few years. He's young, 25. He used to do sports in high school. He's a good athlete, very strong. He's able to handle the half body weight for the front squats. So for Joe, we wouldn't give him a modification because we know he can do the workout in the intended time frame and intensity. Now let's take someone, let's call him Bobby, and he's newer to CrossFit, been doing it for about 3 months. He's a little older. His background is running, but no strength training. We want to be able for him to keep the same intensity as Joe here. So maybe for the run, we still let him run the 800 meter because that's his background, he'd be good at it. But the weight for the front squats, we're not going to let him do half body weight. He's not going to be able to handle that. We want to make sure that he has the same intensity, same results as everybody else. So we would reduce the weight in front squats, and depending on his ability, we could reduce the reps to make sure he finishes in a decent time frame. So that's it for modifications. Next one I want to talk about is progression. So a progression is giving the building blocks to develop a skill over a period of time. So let's pick one that's very common here at CrossFit Moncton. So ring rows. We always tend to say, oh, well, I scaled it to ring rows. Ring rows is not a scale, it's actually progression to pull-ups. I know we often say it, but we tend to call it a scale. So a progression is also continuous, and it helps you connect the dots. So once you get really good at ring rows, we can start incorporating maybe some negative pull-ups to help you develop the strength that you need in your shoulder, whereas the ring rows would focus more on the back pull to be able to pull with your back. There's also shrugs hanging from the bar for you to learn what it's like to activate your shoulders when you're doing pull-ups. So all of these things are different progressions to get to a pull-up. So we don't always use progressions in a workout because some of them, the goal is to build strength or focus on control. But some of them you can, so like the ring row, we'll use them in a workout. Another one that we often see here is muscle up. We tend to change them to pull-ups and dips, or ring rows and parallel dips, or whatever is your modification. So like I said, they're progression to get stronger, to learn the movements, to know how to use them. Whereas muscle up progressions, when we actually get on the rings and either from our knee go from the hang to the flip over and things like that, those are also progressions, but we could do them in a workout, but we don't typically do. So the last one I want to talk about is substitution. So substitution is replacing one thing with another while keeping the same focus. So often in CrossFit, we will substitute a movement if someone has an injury, so they can't do the movement, or there's something preventing them from doing the movement. It could be flexibility, it could be poor mechanics, things like that. So not moving well, or not knowing the movement, haven't been taught the movement yet. So a good example of this is skipping. Skipping is a cardio movement. Someone has an injured calf, we might substitute it for some rowing. What else here? Let's say we have power cleans in the workout and this person doesn't have the proper mechanics to do the deadlift part, to transition into the hip extension and the catch. So they have a hard time putting the deadlift and the hang or the extension together. So maybe we substitute it for a hang power clean because it's less to think about, it's much easier for them. So we still keep the intent of a power clean, which is getting that hip extension fast and land under, right? So yeah, we try to keep the same intent. So whether it's pushing, pulling, cardio, whatever, that's when we do a substitution. So I hope I've been able to teach you a little bit about the differences in modification, progression, and substitution. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to ask us trainers. We can help you give modification or progressions if you're trying to learn a new skill or movement, or a substitution if you're injured or something doesn't feel right that day. That's it. Thank you.